while I am watching over my kids, and then they're so often get an argument and fighting each other. So it's kind of annoying sometimes. I just feel bad about that they're arguing and fighting each other. But one thing that I really feel like interested, because the kids automatically learn from the adults. Even though we never taught them and then give them instruction how to do in their argument on it. I'm just going to give you guys some of the example, like Enoch and Ezra are often arguing each other. Someday they're boasting and lying, each other in order to show that his thing or himself is greater than or bigger than somebody else. So one day, I gave the ride to the school for them, and then on the way heading to the school, then they're starting to arguing. Okay, one kid started his talk like, I saw like this much, damn an elephant, in their eyes. So another kid's also arguing with the line, I saw that, way bigger than that elephant, I saw it in a zoo. Later time, their elephant size become like a house or a building like this much, even like we can't even imagine how big it's going to be. But they just, call it out, and also they just lying and arguing with the size of the elephant, because I saw that this much elephant. So my wife and I, we just call that is an elephant lie. So, however, it is not that it, but because what I just want to point out right here, their line become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, they started their lie over here, this much small, but when they're arguing and then bigger and bigger, their line is, this much big, right? And then one kid asked another kid at the point, some of the point that, they don't really agree with the other person's line this much big, and then they ask this question, hey, do you have evidence? 증거 있어? Do you have evidence? Do you have evidence to show me this much big house size, elephant? Do you have it? Do you have evidence? I was so surprised because how do they know the evidence? How do they know that, evidence and a fact of that relationship? And this is not able to come out from the kid's idea or kid's head. From that point, these small kids find out the evidence. Because in order to find the truth and a genuine thing, not only these kids, also we are asking and finding out the evidence all the time in our lives. However, this evidence is not that articulated, since the evidence naturally comes out from the truth. For example, when you guys are finding out that this person is good person, when you guys look at each other, so is this person is good? Is this person is bad? Is this person is nice? Is this person is not that good? How can you guys prove that kind of thing? In a relationship with somebody else, so you can naturally find out who he is. And then eventually, you guys find out that he's a goodness, that he is a good personality and a good character, naturally comes out in that relationship. If you bring this a simple and a natural fact, I don't think, you have to prove and show that I'm a good guy. Because when you guys are ready and when you guys are a good person, that the best evidence, the evidence of who you are and who it is naturally comes out and show up to the people, that is the best evidence on it. When I just bring it up, this simple and a natural fact to our lives, so we don't have to prove who you are and your life and with the effort, because the people see it and people feel naturally through your life and the fruits, and also how your life influences other people, then you guys know that you guys have, evidence you're a good person and you're an influence person. You're a good character. You has like a good personality. You don't have to prove any of it because you are already there, and this is the truth, and evidence it comes out naturally. So when we have this third time of the Jude sermon, sermon series, especially today, this text, Scripture talks about the people's evidence who will be judged by God. Let me give you guys something. This is the evidence of the God's judgment upon those people. Okay? So this scripture talks about those people who will be judged by God's wrath and a judgment and punishment. We see that throughout this text and the scripture. We're looking at what things that we should check out in our church, in our community, in our individual lives, and what kind of a wording passage we are considering, and we have to accept and apply to our lives. So we are looking at this through today's passage, Jude chapter 1, 11 through 13. So I want you guys to just look at the first verse 11. It says, we have a verse 11 here. We have interesting people groups in Bible history. So I'm just going to read for you guys. Verse 11. All to them, for they walk in the way of the Cain and abandon themselves for the sake of the gain to belong to Errol and perished in a Korah's rebellion. Okay? We can find out the three different groups right here. So what's the name of it? Can you guys see the name? First name is Cain. Number 2, what's the different group? What is the second name? You can find out. Balaam. Number 3, what is that? Korah. I don't know if you guys don't know or may not know all these 3 people in the Bible history, but I'm just gonna give you guys a brief explanation about and tell them who they are. Number 1, Cain. It is a person in the Genesis, the first book in the Genesis that we can find him. And Cain was the model against his younger brother Abel. So when the Cain and Abel, they worshiping God, and God rejected Cain's offering, then Cain was really upset, and then he murdered his younger brother Abel. Number 2. Why are you asking? Why are you laughing at me? Okay? His pronunciation was not that good. Boy. Okay. Sorry. That's the English pronunciation, but I just follow the Korean and the Hebrew. It's the accent. Okay. Abel. Okay. So Cain murdered his younger brother Abel. Because God rejected, he was really upset about the God's rejection of his offering to God. Okay? Number 2, who is Balaam? You can find this person in the number, but what happened? He's a false prophet. Okay? He just try to curse the Israelites, and because he wants to earn their property. Okay? Moabian people just ask Balaam, he's a prophet, and then ask him about paying the money to, Balaam to curse the Israelites, but actually he couldn't do it because whenever he just prophesies, his blessing comes out through his mouth because of the God's, work on his lips. Balaam, he's a false prophet. The last one, who is this? Korah, in a number. He is a Levite family who was rebellious against the God. So what happened was, Levi's family, they are really trying to get an important position, because they are just, pretty much, priest family. And I'm an important person, I'm a significant person, so why don't you just give us a more important position in that higher, position that I can just rolling over to the people. That's the situation, Korah's family happened. In the comments within the 3 people's pattern of the life, it's a common thing we can find out right here. They reject what? And then they're standing against the God's design and the destiny. God is the reconciliation God, but Cain makes separation through his murder. Number 2, God is a blessing God, but Balaam tried to curse the God's people because of his earning as a selfish property. And the last one is what happens. God is a humble God. You know that, Jesus Christ, the humble king, and a humble kingship and obedience to be crucified on the cross. But this Korah's family is arrogant and proud to be rebellious against the God. So we all got God's judgment and then punishment in the end on those 3 different groups on it. These peoples are God's natural. These peoples are against the God's natural design of the creation, and also they are standing against His divine, destiny in their lives. Reconciliation and a blessing and a humility. So Jude, this book author, brings these 3 groups, these 3 representative people groups in Cain, Balaam, and Korah. And it gave the warning message to the people. Hey guys, you guys have to check that out. If you're just walking in these guys' path, you guys have to watch out and check yourself. Because these groups, the end is going to be judgment of God all the time. Jude is warning the people in a church right here, bringing up the 3 people, 3 different groups, and 3 different names on it. You guys have to avoid this path and this direction on it. And then look at the verse 12 and 13. What happened is the description of those against the God right here. And then we are going to read verse 12 and 13 all together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. These are hidden lips at your love fist, and they feast with you without fear. Shepherds feeding themselves to waterless clouds swept along by wind, fruitless trees in the last autumn. Wild waves of the sea casting up the form of their own shame, wandering stars for whom the globe of ultra has been reserved forever. What's the description of these 2 verses over here? Can you guys see? In these phenomena and a pattern of the life, what do you guys see? In those things, we might find out there is no God's ruling, or there is no God's control. You may see all the things that their lives without God. There is no God's influence. There is no God's law, no God's interaction, no God's intervention, control, and there is no God's denomination at all. So we find out that this pattern of the life, pattern of the phenomena. What happened is there is no God, but instead they are against God. And God's creation and God's destiny and God all the time. In those pattern of the lives, what do you guys expected? Nobody tells and approves. They themselves are the evidence of the no God's work and no God's control and no God's relationship with them. That might be that's absolutely in the end of their patterns, in the end of their lives, it will be God's judgment and a judgment. As a conclusive part, I want to be back to the evidence question over here. I want to really strictly and directly ask you guys this question: do you guys have evidence that God is with you? Let me ask you guys an honest question. Do you guys have evidence that you are following God's direction? Hey, do you guys have evidence that you are in God's plan and God's destiny. If you don't have this evidence, you have to be serious to think about yourself. Your salvation too. Your destiny and your direction in your life. In a church, we got to just really check it out because Jude is still on the warning message here. He is giving you guys, hey guys, let us just think about that. If you don't have any of the evidence right here, he is writing this letter to the church, but he is warning the church. Church people with this question. Do you have evidence? Do you have evidence of God's presence in your life? And do you have evidence of the Christ's salvation in you? Do you have evidence? Do you have evidence? Do you have evidence? Do you have evidence of God? Do you have evidence of the Cain, Korah, and Balaam? Which evidence of your life and pattern of the life do you have? I want to ask you guys the last question. Do you have evidence? Let's pray out.